Hi, and welcome to another season of How to Unpicky Your Picky Eater. And I'm still your host, Christine, here again. And, I was reflecting a lot over the break and what I really want to focus on for this new upcoming year, right? So I was really thinking more about the importance of the connection between the parent and the child when it comes to meal times and how important and key that is to the overall success of the progress that you're going to see. So today's episode is going to focus a little bit about that. And I wanted to highlight some examples that will sort of hopefully, convince you that, therapy is really not um, for the therapist to produce all of that change. It really is the parent's role to see and make that change happen. Of course, the therapist is going to be your guide. They're the ones with that initial knowledge and can give you that plan. But if you're not going to take that plan and implement it, you are going to stagnate. At least at some point, you will kind of come up on a wall at a certain level. So, here's what we're going to chat with today. So I wanted to highlight two stories. One of I'd say like this, they won the award of like the most successful, like they've made the most progress in the shortest amount of time, with seemingly the biggest hurdles to overcome. So that first family, we have a little girl who she was tube fed exclusively, nothing by mouth when we met her. She has a tracheostomy, so that she needs to actually breathe through a vent. So there's a hole in her throat, and she has this machine attached to her at all times to help her breathe. She has Down syndrome. She had some heart issues at birth. She's been through several surgeries. Right. So when we met her in September, the mid to end of September, she wasn't eating anything by mouth. She had in the past, but she hadn't in a very long time. She was vomiting a lot. Right. So you can see that there's like some significant issues here to overcome. But I want to talk about the power of the parent here, because this parent was so on top of everything. She made sure that every single day she was doing her homework and taking those baby steps every single day. So within 6 weeks, she started eating by mouth, trials by mouth, right? So she started not wanting anything, near her face. Definitely not food. She was not interested at first, but as I guided mom, she was able to then start to take those first bites of food and actually enjoy the foods, right? So we always say, like, what are those cues? Like, right, we want them leaning in towards the food, going for another bite. So, not at all force feeding. So she started to, in 6 weeks, start to come around to liking food, right? We needed to get the vomiting under control. So we did gut testing. We found a lot of inflammation. We got the right supplements in place so that inflammation started to go down. She started to absorb food better. And by December, she was not to just achieve pass her swallow study test. So she wasn't aspirating anymore. She started drinking from a straw independently on her own. She increased the volume. So we started to decrease her tube feeding. So eliminating, one of her snacks that she would have during the day. So she's in the process of becoming, just a by mouth typical feeder. So, and I, the mom is always so amazing, so thankful. But I always tell mom, I didn't do anything. I just guided you. I just showed you what the next step was. You did all of the work. Every day she practiced with her. Every day she sat with her and tried food. She made different foods. She followed what our functional a dietitian had told her and our detox specialist. She followed that advice. She did the gut testing. She did the swallow study test that I recommended. She followed through and she was consistent. And every day she took a baby step. And don't get me wrong. There were absolutely days where mom felt like she was sliding backwards, where things just were stagnating. They weren't working. And mom would get frustrated, but mom persisted. And every day, even though the child got sick and she had rotavirus and she was throwing up and it just was like it's just like, oh my gosh, we were doing so well. And now we're going back. That happens when kids get sick, but she persisted and she still took steps every single day to make these changes happen. And that's why in just a few months, we went from a child who didn't eat anything by mouth, didn't want anything to do with food, to a child who was able to drink from a straw and eat off of a spoon successfully and starting to become an by mouth only feeder, which is remarkable, amazing progress. But it's that combination of knowing all of the reasons why she wasn't successful before, working towards, getting rid of those things that didn't work, taking out the bad, putting in the good, teaching mom what to do, and mom doing all of the work. Truly, I mean, it was really 100% mom, because I wasn't even really the one feeding her. I was just kind of sitting there and I was just watching them and I would just give suggestions. Here's what we're going to do next. Here's the plan. Here's what our next steps are. And then the parent really implemented that. So I want you to really think about how powerful that is. Now, I want to contrast that with a client who we have had for over a year. And actually, the parent had just come to us, and it sparked the reason for this podcast. So this parent had just come to us and said, I feel like we're kind of hitting a wall, and things are they're not really going anywhere right now. And, of course, we always tell parents, use your resources, go log into the course. You need to do stuff at home. But this parent was adamant that she couldn't do anything at home. It had to start with the therapist first, right? And you can see the contrast in that mindset of the parent who wants to do and take all of those baby steps. And, that first parent that I told you about absolutely could have just left it in my lap, but she took what I said to heart and she did the work, versus the parent who is leaving everything to the therapist. She is totally hands off. She is just bringing the child to the therapist as her main point of what she's going to be doing to help, right? So it's a shift in mindset that the parents really have to make, that it's not just the therapist's job to make progress. And my next episode is actually going to be all about this, how the therapy landscape is changing and how the future of therapy is really going to be about parent involvement and parent connection. And why is that so important? And I say this all the time, but who cares if the child will eat for the therapist? Who cares if the child eats in the room that the therapist is in, if they don't do it in your house? If you don't know how to get them to eat the next food, to introduce the next food, what to put on the plate next, because you didn't learn what to do, how useful is that going to be for you? It's probably not going to be very useful at all, right? So I'm so excited because 2024 finally gave me the data that I had been talking about for years. But I finally had the data with my Unlocking Mealtimes program, because the parents that did the work were the ones that made the progress the fastest. And even though I had been saying that because anecdotally I was seeing that for a very long time, I finally had the data, because we do have, like I said, some parents who absolutely refuse to lift one finger at home. And it's not always because I don't want you to think that those parents are lazy. They're not. They don't believe that they don't have that confidence that they can make the changes themselves. They've had past experiences where their child refused or had a tantrum, and they feel that every time they're going to try something, it's going to result in that same reaction. But I want you to think about this, right? That's the same problem your kids are having, right? With the food, is that they had a past negative experience and they're afraid that when you present that new food to them, they're going to have that negative experience all over again. So, yeah, it's a mirror. This problem is a mirror of your own issues as well. If you're unable to see that your child's problem is actually partially your own problem as well, like you might have that fear yourself about, well, I can't do it because it didn't go well last time. I tried it before and it didn't work. They're thinking the same. They're thinking, well, I've tried this before. It didn't work. I don't like trying new foods. And when I tried it, it didn't go well. I didn't feel good. I wasn't happy. Mom got mad or whatever it was. They're having that same fear mirrored back to you. So when you as a parent can learn to do things a different way, then we can teach them to do things a different way as well. So this is the power of you and your learning and your journey and your connection to your child on as it relates to meal times, right? So you can see therapy really should never be a drop off, have the therapist fix it type of a thing. When parents are empowered, we have seen that they they make progress in about a fourth of the time that a parent who has that drop off mentality of you fix it therapist, I'm paying you to do this, right? Those parents are going to actually spend more money waiting longer, struggling more because they're not fixing part of their root problem is that they're not changing what they're doing at home. And if you're not going to, it's like, why would you do the same thing over and over again and expect a different result? You have to change how you're approaching meal times. You have to change how you're talking to your child about food. You have to change how you're presenting the food. You have to change how you react when they're interacting with food. When you change that, they're going to start to change their reactions, right? Think of it as that mirror again of, you actually have the same fears and the same problem. It's just slightly different, right? Yours is, oh, I don't think that they're going to react well to what I'm doing. And your child is thinking, I'm not going to react well to what they're doing to me. So not so much in those literal words, but that's the same result that you're getting. So I don't know if that's ever occurred to any parents before. If it has, if this was a big aha moment, I would love to hear about it. Please, send me an email or a DM. We're at hello@foodologyfeeding.com or on Instagram at foodologyfeeding. And, we have some great stuff coming up this year. I'm really excited about connecting more with families and helping parents connect more with their child. Because as you saw in these are two examples, the parents who took that time and made that different connection, did something differently, learned to do it a different way, those parents made progress way faster, and their connection with their child and their confidence in themselves as a parent just is, that there's no price tag you can put on that. This mom, I am so proud of this mom. She absolutely rocked it this year. And it's because it was her number one goal and priority. She said, Christine, there's nothing I want more than for my daughter to eat. And I said, great. Well, as long as you're going to take a little bit of baby steps every day, that's not going to be a problem. She's going to eat just fine. And that's exactly what happened. So is feeding a priority this year? If it's not, that's okay. This doesn't have to be the year. But if it is, if you're saying, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired of this problem, this might be the year that you want to dive into unlocking meal times. This might be the year to invest in your child's health, in your mental health as well, because it is like a mental load that we get when their child is not eating, right? So but you have to be ready to do the work. I can't emphasize that enough. You have to be ready to take at least a baby step every single day, even if it's just a 1 to 2 minute baby step. I just need you to take one small step every single day or every other day to meet your goals. And I'll help you get there. I'll tell you what the next step is. I'll guide you. I'll be your cheerleader, but I can't make you do the work. You have to do the work yourself. Okay? So, I want you to be the success story that I am talking about next January. So if you're ready to sign up, go to unlockingmealtimes.com. Yes, it's its own website now. The program has its own website. You could learn more about it. Basically, it's going to start with an evaluation, right? Our roadmap is where we take you through step by step and figure out exactly what your child's underlying issues are so we can make that plan, right? Because I only knew what to do next because I knew what the issues were. So I knew exactly what the plan should be. I just had to help mom implement that plan, right? So once we have this roadmap, then every month we do our monthly membership and we talk twice a month. And I guide you. And I'm like, okay, this is our next step. You did great with this. Let's improve this. This is where we're going. I want you to listen to these 3 episodes or these 3 lessons. And next time, we're going to talk about like what the issues were that you were having, what was the struggle, what came easy, and here's our plan for the next 2 weeks. So if that sounds great to you, definitely check us out at unlockingmealtimes.com, where you can sign up and get started today and make 2025 the year that your kids finally start to enjoy food. We will see you next week. Have a great day.
Thank you for listening to How to Unpicky Your Picky Eater. To learn more about achieving your child's feeding goals, check out Christine's website at foodologyfeeding.com. And be sure to tune in next time to How to Unpicky Your Picky Eater.